Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, staring at the massive shape that had appeared at the edge of their solar system. The alien ship was huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. It was dark gray with strange lights running along its sides. The ship looked like it could destroy Earth's entire fleet without breaking a sweat. "Captain, we're getting a signal," said Lieutenant Amy Patterson from her station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the worry underneath. They had all dreamed of this day, the day humans would meet aliens, but none of them had imagined it would happen like this. "Put it on screen," Jake ordered. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that was definitely not human. The alien was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. Its eyes were large and black, and when it spoke, its voice came through their computers in perfect English. "I am Admiral Kethvar of the Zeridian Galactic Empire," the alien said. Its voice was cold and had no emotion. "You are the species called humans. We have been watching you." Jake stepped forward. His heart was beating fast, but he kept his voice calm. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Defiance. Welcome to our solar system." The alien's face did not change. "This is not a social visit, human. We are here to deliver a message from the Empire. Your species has 7 standard galactic cycles to evacuate this system and all your colonies." "Evacuate?" Jake felt his stomach drop. "Why would we do that?" "Because the Empire has designated your space as a strategic resource zone. All primitive species must relocate to designated worlds in the Outer Rim. This is not a request. This is an order." Amy looked at Jake with wide eyes. Around the bridge, the other crew members had stopped what they were doing to listen. Jake could feel their fear, but he also felt something else. Anger. "And if we refuse?" Jake asked. Admiral Kethvar's expression still did not change. "Then you will be removed by force. The Empire has conquered over 200 species. None have successfully resisted. Your technology is thousands of years behind ours. Your ships are primitive. Your weapons are weak. Resistance would mean the complete destruction of your species." The alien paused and seemed to study Jake through the screen. "We are not cruel, human. We offer you life on the reservation worlds. You will be safe there. You will be fed. You will survive. This is more mercy than most species receive." Jake felt his hands tighten into fists. Behind him, he could hear angry whispers from his crew. He thought about Earth, about the blue skies and green fields he had grown up with. He thought about his sister and her kids, playing in their backyard. He thought about all the humans working in the colonies, building new homes among the stars. "How long did you say we have?" Jake asked. 7 galactic cycles. In your measurement, approximately 6 months. "That's very generous of you," Jake said. His voice was getting harder. "But I have a counteroffer." The alien tilted its head slightly. "You wish to negotiate? There is nothing to negotiate. The Empire's decision is final." "No negotiation," Jake said. "Just our answer. We respectfully decline your generous offer. Earth is our home, and we're not going anywhere." For the first time, Admiral Kethvar's expression changed. It looked surprised. "You cannot be serious. We have shown you our power. Our ship could destroy your entire planet." "Maybe," Jake said, "but you'll have to get through us first." "You would choose extinction over relocation?" Jake looked around at his crew. He saw Amy nodding at him. He saw the weapons officer, Lieutenant Ben Adams, giving him a thumbs up. He saw determination on every face. "We choose freedom," Jake said. "We choose to fight for our home. We choose to stand up to bullies even when they're bigger than us." The alien was quiet for a long moment. Then it spoke again, and now its voice had a different tone. Not angry, but confused. "In all our conquests, no species has ever chosen this path. They see our power, and they submit. It is logical. It is smart. What you are doing is not smart." "Maybe not," Jake agreed. "But it's human." Admiral Kethvar stared at him for several seconds. "Very well. We will withdraw to observe. When you see what we are capable of, you will change your mind. All species do eventually." "Don't count on it," Jake said. The screen went black. The bridge was silent for a moment. Then Amy spoke up. "Captain, should I send word to Earth Command?" Jake nodded. "Send it to everyone. Every colony, every ship, every human in space. Tell them what just happened. Tell them we have 6 months to get ready for the fight of our lives." "What should we tell them about our chances?" asked Ben. Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the alien ship was waiting and watching. Somewhere out there, more ships were probably coming. The smart thing would be to run, the logical thing would be to surrender. But humans had never been known for doing the smart thing. "Tell them the truth," Jake said. "Tell them we're probably going to die. But tell them we're going to make these aliens remember us. Tell them that if they want our worlds, they're going to have to take them from our cold, dead hands." Amy smiled as she started typing the message. "Any particular words you want me to use, Captain?" Jake thought for a moment. Then he grinned, and for the first time since the alien ship had appeared, he felt good about their chances. "Tell them this. The aliens want us to run. They think we'll be scared. They think we'll give up our homes without a fight. They're about to learn something about humans they won't forget. We don't run, we don't hide, and we sure as hell don't quit." The message went out across human space, and everywhere it was received, people stopped what they were doing and looked up at the stars. The war was coming, and humanity was ready to fight. Colonel Pete Davis watched the reports coming in from across human space. Every screen in the Luna Base Command Center showed the same thing. Humans were not running. They were not packing up to leave. Instead, they were getting ready to fight. "Sir, the mining colonies are ahead of schedule," reported Lieutenant Kelly Ross. "They've converted 60% of their equipment to weapons production. The asteroid belt stations are building missile platforms faster than we thought possible." Pete nodded. 3 weeks had passed since Captain Morrison's message reached every human settlement. 3 weeks since the aliens had given them 6 months to leave. Pete had expected panic. He had expected some colonies to surrender. He had expected humans to act like the smart, logical species they were supposed to be. Instead, humanity had surprised him. Every single colony had voted to stay and fight. Even the small research stations with only a few dozen people had refused to evacuate. It was crazy. It was impossible. It was completely human. "What about the civilian ships?" Pete asked. "Converting as fast as they can," said Lieutenant Ross. "Cargo haulers are being fitted with missile pods. Passenger ships are getting armor plating. Even the old mining barges are being turned into weapons platforms." Pete smiled. The aliens thought humans were primitive. They thought human technology was weak. They were about to learn that humans were very good at making things explode. Dr. Lisa Zhang walked into the command center carrying a tablet. She looked tired but excited. For the past 3 weeks, she had been working almost nonstop, trying to figure out how alien technology worked. "Pete, you need to see this," she said, showing him the tablet screen. "We got lucky during that first contact. Our sensors picked up more than we thought." "What did you find?" "Their shields work on a frequency rotation system, very advanced, but it has a pattern. If we can time our attacks right, we might be able to punch through." Pete looked at the data. He did not understand all the science, but he understood what it meant. Humans might actually have a chance. "How long to build weapons that can use this?" he asked. "We're already working on it. Give me 2 more weeks. You have whatever you need, people, equipment, money, just make it work." Lisa smiled and hurried back to her lab. Pete turned back to the screens, showing reports from across human space. Every report was the same. Humans were not giving up. On Mars, General Ryan Tucker was turning the red planet into a fortress. The dome cities were being reinforced. Weapons were being installed on every building. The Martian orbital platforms were being expanded with new gun batteries. "General Tucker reports that Mars will be ready in 4 weeks, said Lieutenant Ross. "He says the aliens will have to fight for every inch." Pete nodded. That was exactly what he wanted to hear. The door to the command center opened, and Captain Jake Morrison walked in. He had been promoted to admiral after his defiant message to the aliens, but he still looked like the ship captain Pete remembered. "How are we doing?" Jake asked. "Better than expected. Every colony is preparing. Every ship is being converted. Every human in space is ready to fight. Jake looked at the main screen, which showed a map of human space. Red dots marked the colonies. Green dots showed the defensive positions being built. There were a lot of green dots. The aliens sent another message, Jake said. Commander Veltar wants to meet. He says they're giving us one more chance to surrender. Pete laughed. What did you tell them? I told them they could meet us at the edge of the asteroid belt, neutral space. But I also told them our answer hasn't changed. Think they'll come? Oh, they'll come. They think if they show us more of their technology, we'll get scared and give up. They don't understand humans very well. 2 days later, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the UES Defiance II. The original Defiance was being upgraded with Dr. Jung's new weapons. This ship was bigger, faster, and armed with the best weapons humanity could build. Beside him stood Admiral Amy Patterson, promoted from lieutenant after her role in First Contact. She was now in charge of communications for the entire human fleet. Admiral, we're getting a signal from the alien ship, Amy said. Put it on screen. Commander Veltar appeared on the screen. This alien looked different from Admiral Kethavar. It was shorter, with blue skin instead of gray. But its eyes had the same cold look. Admiral Morrison, I am Commander Veltar. I have come to discuss your surrender. We're not surrendering, Jake said simply. You must reconsider. We have brought a demonstration of our power. Observe. The screen changed to show space outside. A small asteroid about the size of a city block was floating between the two fleets. Suddenly, a beam of light shot from the alien ship. The asteroid simply disappeared. One moment it was there, the next, it was gone. Impressive, Jake said. Our turn. He nodded to Amy, who sent a signal to the human ships. Suddenly, the space around the alien ship filled with missiles. Hundreds of them, launched from hidden platforms throughout the asteroid belt. They did not hit the alien ship. They were not meant to. Instead, they exploded in a pattern around the alien vessel, creating a light show that could be seen for millions of miles. That was just a greeting, Jake said to the alien commander. We wanted to show you what we've been building while you were away. Commander Veltar's expression changed. It looked worried. This is your final warning, humans. Surrender now, or face complete destruction. Jake smiled. Behind him, his crew was grinning. All across human space, people were watching this conversation. All across human space, people were getting ready to fight. Commander Veltar, let me make something clear. We gave you our answer 3 weeks ago. Earth is our home. The colonies are our homes. We're not leaving. If you want our worlds, you'll have to take them. And we're going to make that very expensive for you. The alien commander stared at him for a long moment. Then the screen went black. Amy turned to Jake. Think we scared them? Jake looked out at the stars where more human ships were arriving every hour. Cargo haulers with missile pods. Mining ships with armor plating. Even old passenger liners fitted with guns. No, he said. But we got their attention. Now they know we're not going to make this easy for them. The war was coming, and humanity was ready. Admiral Kethavar looked at the battle plans on his command screen. The Third Imperial Fleet had arrived, bringing his total force to over 300 ships. Against them, the humans had maybe 50 ships defending their outer colonies. This should be easy. Begin the assault on New Texas, he ordered. Standard deployment. We will show these humans what happens when they defy the Empire. The alien fleet moved toward the mining colony. New Texas was a small world with only 10,000 humans. It had basic defenses and a few converted mining ships. The attack should take less than an hour. Commander Ben Adams watched the alien ships approach on his scanner. He was sitting in the command chair of the Lone Star, a mining ship that had been fitted with missile launchers and armor plating. Around him, his crew was getting ready for battle. Sir, we count over 30 enemy ships, reported his weapons officer. They're moving in standard formation. Ben smiled. Standard formation. The aliens were treating this like every other battle. They had fought. They were about to learn that humans did not fight like other species. All ships, this is Adams. Remember the plan. We're not trying to win. We're trying to make them pay. Make every shot count. The alien ships opened fire first. Energy beams hit the asteroid mining platforms that protected New Texas. The platforms exploded in bright flashes. But as the smoke cleared, the aliens saw something they did not expect. The platforms were still there. The explosions had been fake. "Now!" Ben shouted. The fake mining platforms opened up, revealing hidden missile launchers. Hundreds of missiles shot out, targeting the alien ships. At the same time, the mining ships that had been hiding behind asteroids came out fighting. The aliens were caught off guard. Their shields absorbed most of the missiles, but some got through. 2 alien ships took damage before they could react. "Interesting," Admiral Kethvar said, watching from his flagship. "They use deception. No matter. Deploy. Boarding parties." The alien ships launched small fighters toward the human vessels. This was standard procedure. Board the enemy ships, capture them, and end the battle quickly. But when the alien boarding parties cut through the hulls of the human ships, they found something they had never encountered before. The humans were waiting for them. Sergeant Tony Martinez crouched behind a metal barrier in the corridor of the mining ship Rocky Mountain. He had 20 Marines with him, all armed with the best weapons humanity could make. When the aliens cut through the hull, Tony was ready. "Welcome to our ship," he said, and opened fire. The aliens were good soldiers. They had conquered many worlds, but they had never fought humans before. They had never fought a species that seemed to enjoy violence. They had never fought soldiers who smiled while shooting at them. The battle in the corridors was brutal. The aliens had better armor and weapons, but the humans knew their own ships better. They used vents and maintenance tunnels to attack from unexpected directions. They set traps and ambushes. When they ran out of bullets, they used knives. When they ran out of knives, they used their fists. Tony Martinez cornered an alien soldier in the engine room. The alien was bigger and stronger, but Tony had been in bar fights since he was 16. He knew how to fight dirty. "Nothing personal," Tony said, hitting the alien with a wrench. "But you picked the wrong species to mess with." Back in space, Captain Kelly Ross was proving that humans could be just as tricky in ship combat. Her destroyer squadron was outnumbered 3-1, but Kelly had grown up in the asteroid belt. She knew how to use gravity and momentum to her advantage. "Follow me," she told her ships. "We're going to slingshot around that asteroid and hit them from behind." The human ships dove toward a large asteroid at full speed. The aliens followed, thinking they could catch the primitive human vessels. But at the last second, Kelly's ships used the asteroid's gravity to change direction. They came around the other side, moving even faster, and caught the alien ships by surprise. Kelly's ship, the Texas Ranger, fired everything it had at the alien cruiser. The alien shields held, but the impact sent the cruiser spinning out of control. "Yeehaw!" Kelly shouted. "That's how we do it in Texas." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the humans had lost half their ships, but they had also damaged 12 alien vessels and captured 3 others. Most importantly, they had shown the aliens that humans would not give up easily. Admiral Kethvar looked at the battle reports. His forces had won, but the victory had cost more than he expected. The humans had fought with a fury he had never seen before. They had used tactics that made no sense. They had refused to surrender even when their ships were destroyed. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we're getting a message from the human commander." Ben Adams appeared on the screen. His uniform was torn and he had blood on his face, but he was smiling. "Nice fight," Ben said. "You win this round, but we're not done yet. Every world you attack, we're going to make you pay. Every ship you send, we're going to fight. You might beat us, but you're going to remember us." The screen went black. Admiral Kethvar stared at it for a long moment. In 200 conquests, he had never received a message like that. Usually, the defeated species begged for mercy. These humans were already planning their next fight. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "should we move on to the next target?" Kethvar looked at the casualty reports. 12 ships damaged, 3 ships captured, over 1,000 soldiers killed or wounded, all to capture one small mining colony. "How many human worlds are there?" he asked. "Over 300 colonies, sir, plus their home world." Kethvar did the math. If every battle cost this much, the war would take years. The Empire had never fought a war that lasted more than a few months. "Send a message to Imperial Command," he ordered. "Request reinforcements, and tell them that these humans are not like the other species we have conquered. They fight differently. They think differently. They are going to be a problem." Meanwhile, back on New Texas, the surviving humans were already planning their next move. They had lost this battle, but they had learned something important. The aliens could be hurt. They could be surprised. They could be beaten. The war was just beginning, and humanity was just getting started. The Second Imperial Fleet arrived at the edge of human space like a storm cloud. Admiral Kethavar watched the massive formation of ships take position around his command vessel. 800 ships now, veterans from dozens of conquest campaigns. "Surely this would be enough to crush the stubborn humans." "Admiral," said his communications officer, "Imperial Command is asking for daily reports. They want to know why this campaign is taking so long." Kethavar's forearms twitched with frustration. 6 weeks had passed since the first battle at New Texas. 6 weeks of fighting humans who refused to follow the rules of war. Every victory cost more ships. Every captured world had to be held by force. The humans just kept fighting. "Tell Imperial Command that these humans are different," he said. Colonel Sarah Williams stood in the command center of Jupiter Station, watching the alien fleet approach. The station was huge, built into the asteroid Io, with massive guns and shield generators. Around Jupiter, dozens of human ships waited in defensive positions. "Colonel, enemy fleet is 3 hours out," reported her tactical officer. "We count over 200 ships heading our way." Sarah nodded. She had been preparing for this moment for weeks. Jupiter Station was humanity's strongest fortress, built to guard the shipping lanes to Earth. If it fell, the aliens would have a clear path to humanity's homeworld. "All stations, this is Williams. Remember what we're fighting for. Every minute we hold them here gives Earth more time to prepare. Make them pay for every inch." The battle began when the alien fleet was still hours away. Human long-range missiles shot out from hidden positions throughout the Jupiter system. Most were destroyed by alien defenses, but some got through. The aliens learned that humans had turned the entire gas giant system into a weapons platform. As the alien ships got closer, they faced wave after wave of human fighters. Small, fast ships that darted in, fired everything they had, and tried to escape. Most were destroyed, but they damaged dozens of alien vessels and slowed their advance. "These tactics are wasteful," complained Commander Veltar from his ship. "They sacrifice their pilots for minimal damage." "No," said Admiral Kethavar, watching the human fighters attack his fleet. "They sacrifice their pilots to buy time. Each fighter that dies gives their main fleet another few minutes to prepare." The real battle began when the alien fleet reached Jupiter Station. The humans had built their fortress well. Energy shields protected the main structure, while hundreds of gun batteries fired at the attacking ships. The aliens found themselves in a crossfire from multiple directions. Sarah Williams coordinated the defense from deep inside the asteroid. Around her, human officers worked at their stations while the battle raged overhead. The station shook every time an alien weapon hit their shields. "Shield generators at 60%, reported her chief engineer. "Torpedo tubes 4 through 8 are offline," said her weapons officer. "Alien boarding shuttles approaching Dock 7, called her security chief. Sarah smiled grimly. The aliens were trying their standard boarding tactics again. They still did not understand humans very well. Major Chris Thompson waited in the docking bay with his Marines. When the alien shuttles broke through the station's outer hull, his soldiers were ready. The fighting was fierce and close, with humans and aliens shooting at each other across the metal corridors of the station. But this time the humans had a surprise. Dr. Lisa Zhang's research teams had been busy. They had built new weapons based on captured alien technology, but with human improvements. The guns were louder, messier, and much more dangerous. "Welcome to Jupiter Station," Chris said to the alien soldiers as his Marines opened fire with their new weapons. "Hope you packed a lunch because you're going to be here a while." The aliens were tough fighters, but they were not prepared for human weapons that could punch through their armor. They were not prepared for human soldiers. who used the station's own systems against them, and they were definitely not prepared for humans who had booby-trapped their own base. While the battle raged at Jupiter, Captain Danny Parker was leading human raids deep into alien territory. His ship, the Nighthawk, was fast and quiet, perfect for sneaking up on alien supply convoys. "Target acquired," said his pilot. "Alien supply ship lightly defended." Danny smiled. The aliens had made a mistake. They were using the same supply routes they had used in their other conquests. They had not learned that humans studied their enemies and looked for weaknesses. "Hit them hard and fast," Danny ordered. "Take what we can use and destroy the rest." The Nighthawk attacked the alien supply ship with missiles and energy weapons. The alien escorts tried to fight back, but Danny's ship was already moving to its next target. Within an hour, 3 alien supply ships were destroyed, and their cargo was floating in space. "This is for New Texas," Danny said as he watched the alien ships burn. Back at Jupiter Station, the siege continued for 3 weeks. The aliens threw everything they had at the human fortress, but the humans held on. Every day, more alien ships were damaged. Every day, the human defenders made the aliens pay a higher price. Finally, the alien fleet began to pull back. They had taken heavy losses, and Jupiter Station was still fighting. Admiral Keithvar realized that he could take the station, but it would cost him half his fleet. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "we could bring in more ships from the reserve fleet." Keithvar looked at the casualty reports. 50 ships destroyed, over 100 damaged. Thousands of soldiers killed, all to attack one human base, and they had not even captured it yet. "No," he said. "Pull back to long-range positions. We will try a different approach." Sarah Williams watched the alien fleet retreat and allowed herself a small smile. Jupiter Station was still in human hands. The aliens had been stopped, at least for now. "Send a message to Earth Command," she told her communications officer. "Tell them we held the line. Tell them the aliens can be beaten." Admiral Keithvar sent his own message to Imperial Command. It was not the kind of message he had ever sent before. "Request immediate reinforcements," he wrote. "The humans are not surrendering. They are not retreating. They are fighting back, and they are winning more battles than they should. We need the first Imperial fleet. We need the battle-tested veterans. We need ships that have never lost a war." He paused, then added one more line. "The humans are changing this war. They are not fighting to survive. They are fighting to win, and they are very good at it." The message was sent across the galaxy to the Imperial homeworlds. For the first time in the Empire's history, a conquest was not going according to plan. The humans were proving to be far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The first Imperial fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Over 1,500 ships, led by the massive dreadnought Emperor's Will. Admiral Keithvar had been given command of the entire force, with orders from the Imperial Corps itself. End this war quickly before other species in the Empire began to think they could resist too. "All ships prepare for final assault," Keithvar ordered. "Target? Earth. This ends today." Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Freedom, humanity's newest and most powerful warship. Around Earth, the human fleet waited. They were outnumbered 10-1. Their ships were smaller, their weapons weaker, their technology centuries behind. But they were human, and they were not giving up. "Sir, alien fleet is moving into attack formation," reported Captain Amy Patterson from her position at the communications station. "They're coming straight at us." Jake looked at the main screen showing the massive alien fleet approaching Earth. Behind him, his bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. There was no panic, no fear, just determination. "Send a message to all ships," Jake said. "Tell them, this is it. This is what we've been preparing for. Today we find out if humans really are as tough as we think we are." The message went out across the human fleet. On every ship, human soldiers and sailors got ready for the fight of their lives. They knew they probably would not survive. They knew the odds were against them. But they also knew they were fighting for their home, and that made all the difference. Dr. Lisa Zhang was in her laboratory deep inside Earth's moon. making final adjustments to humanity's secret weapon. For months, she had been working on something the aliens would never expect. Not advanced technology, but simple human engineering, taken to its logical extreme. "Are you sure this will work?" asked her assistant. Lisa smiled. The beauty of human engineering is that it doesn't have to be pretty or elegant. It just has to work, and this will definitely work. The battle began when the alien fleet was still hours away from Earth. Human missiles launched from hidden positions throughout the solar system. The aliens destroyed most of them easily, but some got through. More importantly, the missiles were not meant to destroy alien ships. They were meant to mark them. Captain Danny Parker led the first wave of human fighters. His squadron dove toward the alien fleet at maximum speed, ignoring the defensive fire that destroyed half his ships in the first minute. "Remember," Danny told his pilots, "we're not trying to win this fight. We're trying to set up the next one." The human fighters swarmed around the alien ships like angry bees. They fired everything they had, but their real job was to plant small devices on the alien hulls. Most of the fighters were destroyed, but they completed their mission. "Phase 1 complete," Danny reported as his damaged ship limped back toward Earth. "The targets are marked." Admiral Kethvar watched the human fighters retreat and shook his head. "Wasteful," he said. "They sacrificed their pilots for no gain." But he was wrong. The human fighters had gained something very important. They had put Dr. Zhang's devices exactly where they needed to be. The main battle began when the alien fleet reached Earth's orbit. The human ships fought with everything they had, but they were being pushed back. One by one, human vessels were destroyed or forced to retreat. It looked like the aliens were winning. Then Dr. Zhang activated her secret weapon. The devices that the human fighters had planted on the alien ships were not bombs. They were transmitters. Simple, crude transmitters that sent out a very specific signal. A signal that told every piece of human technology in the solar system exactly where to aim. Suddenly, the space around Earth lit up with weapons fire, not from ships but from everywhere. Asteroid mining stations that had been disguised as rocks, satellites that had looked like space junk, construction platforms that had pretended to be abandoned. All of them opened fire at the same time, targeting the marked alien ships. The aliens found themselves caught in a crossfire from every direction. Their shields were designed to handle attacks from other ships, not from an entire solar system that had been turned into a weapon. "Impossible," Admiral Kethvar said as his flagship took hits from 6 different directions. "How did they hide so many weapons?" The answer was simple. Humans had not hidden weapons. They had turned everything into weapons. Every piece of human technology in the solar system had been designed to fight if needed. It was the most human thing possible. If you can't build better weapons, build more weapons. Captain Amy Patterson's ship, the New Hope, led the final human assault. Her target was the alien flagship, the massive dreadnought that commanded the entire enemy fleet. "All ships follow me," Amy ordered. "We're going to end this." The human ships charged toward the alien flagship. Most were destroyed before they got close, but Amy's ship made it through. She rammed the New Hope directly into the alien dreadnought's bridge, destroying both ships in a massive explosion. Without their flagship, the alien fleet began to fall apart. Ship after ship was destroyed by the hidden weapons throughout the solar system. The survivors tried to retreat, but human ships followed them, attacking their rear guard. Admiral Kethvar, now on a different ship, watched his mighty fleet being destroyed by the primitive humans. For the first time in his long military career, he was losing a war. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we're getting a message from the human commander." Admiral Jake Morrison appeared on the screen. His uniform was torn, and he had smoke stains on his face, but he was smiling. "Admiral Kethvar," Jake said, "I believe you have something to say to us." The alien admiral looked at the battle reports. Over half his fleet was gone. The rest were damaged and scattered. The humans were still fighting, still shooting, still refusing to give up. We surrender," Kethvar said quietly. Jake nodded. "Smart choice. Now let's talk about peace." 6 months later, Ambassador Pete Davis sat in his office on the Zeridian capital world. The peace treaty had been signed. The Empire had agreed to recognize human independence and establish trade relations. More importantly, word was spreading throughout the galaxy that the mighty Empire could be defeated. The Zeridian Emperor himself had come to the signing ceremony. He was old and wise, and he understood what had happened. "Your species is unusual," the Emperor had told Pete. "Most species fight to survive. You fought to win. There is a difference." Pete had smiled. "Your Majesty, you made one mistake. You told us to run. Humans don't run, we fight, and we're very good at it." Now Pete looked out his office window at the alien city below. Human ships came and went from the spaceport, carrying trade goods and diplomats. The war was over, and both species were learning to live in peace. But in the military academies throughout the Empire, young alien cadets studied human tactics. They learned about the species that had done the impossible. They learned about the warning that was now carved into the wall of every Imperial military school. Know your enemy. They may not be what they seem. The war was over, but the legend of humanity was just beginning. Admiral Zixthul stood on the command deck of the Hegemony flagship, his 4 eyes fixed on the main view screen. The vast emptiness of space filled the display, broken only by the tiny blue-green dot that was the target. Earth. His mouth parts, clicked with satisfaction as he reviewed the tactical display. 5,000 warships under his command approached the Sol system in perfect formation. Each vessel bristled with weapons that could reduce cities to ash. Each carried troops trained to subdue primitive species. Victory was not just expected, it was guaranteed. "Admiral, we have completed our scan of the human defenses," reported Sub-Commander Vrel. "As intelligence predicted, they have approximately 50 combat vessels. Their technology is primitive. Their weapons are based on simple nuclear fusion and chemical propellants." Zixthul's skin rippled with amusement. "Only 50 ships? Our intelligence was generous in their assessment. Prepare the standard conquest broadcast. Let us give these humans the opportunity to surrender before we destroy them." This was routine for the hegemony. Find a resource-rich world, overwhelm its defenses with superior numbers, establish dominance, and begin extraction operations. The process rarely took more than a few days. Earth would be no different. On the other side of the solar system, Commander Lisa Howard jolted awake as the alarm blared through her quarters. The digital display read, 0300 hours. She grabbed her uniform and was dressed before the second alarm cycle finished. Her quarters aboard the Earth Defense Force Station Bulwark were small but efficient, like Lisa herself. "Commander, we have multiple contacts approaching from beyond Neptune's orbit." The voice of Lieutenant Ryan Ellis came through her communicator. "They bypassed our early warning systems. Count is still increasing, but we're at 5,000 E. Vessels and climbing." Lisa felt her stomach drop. "I'll be at command in 2 minutes. Alert Fleet Admiral Murphy and activate the Sentinel protocol." As she rushed through the station's corridors, her mind raced through possible strategies. The Earth Defense Force had only 47 combat-ready ships. Conventional warfare against such numbers would be suicide. But humans had never been conventional fighters. The command center buzzed with controlled urgency as Lisa entered. Tactical displays showed the approaching armada, a massive swarm of red dots moving toward Earth with frightening precision. "Status report," Lisa demanded, taking her position at the command console. 5,123 vessels, Commander," Ryan reported, his voice steady despite the odds they faced. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies in perfect English. They're demanding our immediate surrender." Lisa's eyes narrowed. "They've been studying us. Put it on screen." The alien message was clear and direct. "Attention humans of Earth. This is Admiral Zixthul of the Hegemony Grand Fleet. Your planet is now under our protection. Your resources will serve the greater good of the hegemony. Resistance is futile and will result in unnecessary destruction. You have 1 Earth hour to deactivate your defensive systems and prepare for our arrival." The command center fell silent. Everyone looked to Lisa. "Open a channel to Fleet Admiral Murphy," she ordered. When the Admiral's face appeared on screen, Lisa didn't waste time. "Sir, requesting permission to activate the Hornet's Nest protocol." Admiral John Murphy's weathered face showed no surprise, only grim determination. You think it will work, Commander? It's our only chance, sir. Conventional tactics would be suicide against these numbers. Murphy nodded. Permission granted. God help us all. Lisa turned to her crew. Initiate Hornet's Nest. Signal all ships to move into Sigma formation. She opened a channel to the alien fleet and spoke clearly. This is Commander Lisa Howard of the Earth Defense Force. We respectfully decline your offer. Please reconsider your approach. On the Hegemony flagship, Admiral Zix Thule laughed when he heard the human response. His tactical officer reported that the Earth vessels, a mere 47 ships, were moving into what appeared to be a defensive formation. Look, at them, Zix Thule said to his bridge officers. They think they can fight us. How primitive, how predictable. He settled into his command chair. This will be over in minutes. Prepare main batteries. Target their largest vessels first. What happened next would be recorded in Hegemony military history as the Sol System catastrophe. The human ship suddenly accelerated to speeds that Hegemony sensors declared impossible. Their formation, which had seemed defensive, transformed into an aggressive attack pattern that made no tactical sense, until 15 of the Hegemony's frontline dreadnoughts exploded simultaneously. What is happening? Zix Thule roared, rising from his chair as alarms blared across the bridge. Where are they? How did they? Unknown technology detected, screamed the science officer. The human vessels are creating some kind of space-time distortion. They're moving in ways that violate normal physics. The human ships seem to blink in and out of existence, appearing inside the Hegemony formation, releasing swarms of tiny objects barely visible on sensors, then disappearing before counterfire could target them. On the EDF command ship Defiance, engineer Sam Rivera monitored the quantum field inverters with intense concentration. Field stability at 94%, he reported. We can maintain this for another 40 minutes before we need to cycle the cores. Lisa Howard nodded, watching as her small fleet executed the battle plan perfectly. Keep our jumps random but focused on their command and control vessels. Deploy Firefly drones on each jump. She turned to Communications Officer Paul Martinez. What are they saying to each other? Paul adjusted his headset. They're in complete confusion, Commander. They keep asking each other what we're doing. I think they're scared. The quantum field manipulation technology had been Earth's most closely guarded secret. Chief Engineer Sam Rivera had discovered that by inverting certain quantum fields, human ships could create localized space-time pockets that allowed them to temporarily ignore conventional physics. The technology remained classified and was never broadcast or discussed on any channel the Hegemony could monitor. In the 3 years since the discovery, every EDF ship had been retrofitted with the technology. Each Firefly drone carried a quantum destabilizer that could disrupt the atomic structure of any material. Small, nearly invisible, and guided by advanced AI, they were the perfect weapon against an enemy that relied on overwhelming numbers rather than technological ingenuity. 2 hours into what the Hegemony had expected to be a simple conquest, Admiral Zix Thule faced a devastating reality. His fleet had lost 213 ships without destroying a single human vessel. His tactical officers had no effective countermeasures to suggest. The mighty Hegemony Grand Fleet, which had conquered 17 star Yao systems without a single defeat, was being systematically dismantled by a species they had dismissed as primitive. We must regroup, Zix Thule finally ordered, his voice lacking its earlier confidence. Form defensive sphere pattern around the command ships. Launch all fighters. As he gave the order, Zix Thule realized a terrible truth. They had outnumbered the humans 100 to 1, and somehow it didn't count. Admiral Zix Thule paced the bridge of his flagship, his clawed feet clicking against the metal floor. The situation had become unthinkable. 3 hours into what should have been a simple conquest, the Hegemony fleet had lost 437 ships without destroying a single human vessel. His officers watched him nervously, waiting for orders that might save them from this unexpected disaster. Impossible, Zix Thule muttered. They cannot have this technology. Our intelligence reports indicated they were at least 200 years behind us. The science officer, Lorex, approached cautiously. Admiral, we have analyzed their movement patterns. They appear to be creating localized distortions in spacetime. It allows them to move in ways our ships cannot predict or counter. How did we miss this? Zixthul demanded. We monitored their communications for decades. There was no mention of such technology. It appears they kept it secret, Admiral. No broadcasts, no published papers, nothing on their public networks. They knew we were watching. This realization shook Zixthul more than the losses. The humans had known they were being observed. They had hidden their true capabilities deliberately. They had prepared for this day. Meanwhile, aboard the Earth Defense Force command ship Defiance, Commander Lisa Howard studied the tactical display with intense focus. The hegemony fleet was attempting to regroup, forming a defensive sphere around what appeared to be their command ships. They're adapting, she noted. Paul, what are their communications telling us? Communications Officer Paul Martinez adjusted his headset. They're confused and frightened, Commander. The Admiral is demanding explanations from his intelligence division. They had no idea about our quantum technology. Lisa nodded. That was the point. Dr. Williams, how are the systems holding up? Dr. Kate Williams looked up from her console. Her eyes were tired but determined. As the lead quantum physicist who had refined Sam Rivera's initial discovery into practical military application, she understood the technology better than anyone. The quantum field inverters are stable, she reported. But we're pushing the limits of what we tested. I recommend cycling ships back to recharge after every 5th jump. Lisa nodded. Make it so. We can't afford system failures now. She turned to strategic analyst Olivia Jackson. Have you identified their command ship? Olivia pointed to a large vessel at the center of the defensive formation. That one. Based on communication patterns and energy signatures, it's their flagship. The alien admiral is almost certainly there. Lisa studied the ship for a moment, then made her decision. We're not trying to destroy their entire fleet. That would be a waste of lives on both sides. We need to break their command structure and force a withdrawal. She tapped her console. All ships' new attack pattern. Focus on command and control vessels, communication relays, and fuel transports. Precision strikes only. Across the void of space, 47 human ships continued their seemingly impossible dance through the enemy formation. Each vessel jumped in, deployed its Firefly drones against specific targets, then jumped out before the hegemony could respond. The microscopic drones carrying quantum destabilizers could bypass most shields and defenses by briefly shifting out of normal space-time. On the hegemony flagship, panic was spreading. Senior officers argued openly about retreating. Sub-commanders from destroyed vessels who had escaped in life pods were brought aboard, each with terrifying stories of how quickly their ships had been disabled or destroyed. Admiral, his second-in-command, finally spoke. Perhaps we should consider withdrawal. We can return with a larger fleet with new countermeasures. Zixthul's skin darkened with anger. Retreat. The hegemony does not retreat from primitives. We have over 4,500 ships remaining. They have only 47. But Admiral, the officer persisted, their 47 ships are more effective than our 4,500. The numbers have become meaningless. This truth hit Zixthul like a physical blow. The hegemony had always relied on overwhelming force. Their technology was advanced, but their true advantage had always been numbers. They could always bring more ships, more troops, more firepower than any opponent. But against the humans, this strategy had failed completely. As if to emphasize this point, a series of explosions rocked the ship. The lights flickered, and emergency alarms blared. What now? Zixthul demanded. Our main communication array has been destroyed, reported the tactical officer. We're also detecting small explosions throughout the ship. Something is attacking us from inside. The Firefly drones had penetrated the flagship's defenses. Thousands of microscopic weapons were now systematically targeting critical systems, not to destroy the ship, but to disable it. Back on the Defiance, Sam Rivera monitored the attack with satisfaction. The drones are working perfectly. They're disabling the flagship's weapons, engines, and communication systems without threatening life support. Lisa nodded. Good. We don't want to kill their admiral. We want him to understand. She turned to Paul. Can you establish direct communication with their flagship? Working on it, Commander. Their systems are different from ours, but I think I can patch through using one of the drones as a relay. On Earth, the situation was tense but controlled. President Diane Collins addressed an emergency session of the United Nations, revealing the first contact protocols the hegemony had violated and presenting evidence of their intentions to strip mine the planet. The broadcast was transmitted across all frequencies, including those the hegemony used for internal communications. For decades we have known we were not alone, President Collins told the world. For decades we have prepared. When we discovered we were being watched, we did not panic. We adapted. We developed technologies in secret. We unified our defense forces. Today, we face the threat we long anticipated, and we do so as one planet, one people. Across the globe, civilians watched the battle unfold through satellite images and military feeds that had been made public. What might have caused panic instead inspired unity. Humanity stood together, watching their defenders hold the line against overwhelming odds. In space, the battle continued to shift in Earth's favor. The hegemony fleet, unable to effectively target the human ships, began to lose cohesion. Without clear communication from their flagship, individual captains made their own decisions, some holding position, others attempting to retreat. Lisa Howard saw the opportunity. They're fragmenting. Time for Phase 2. She opened a channel. To all Earth ships. Prepare for Operation Lighthouse. Target the flagship's engines and weapons only. Leave life support and internal gravity intact. The plan was bold but clear. Isolate Admiral Zixthul's command ship from the rest of the fleet. Disable it completely, and then board it. Not to capture or kill, but to communicate. As the human ships moved into position for this new phase, Zixthul stared out at the stars. His certainty shattered. The hegemony had conquered 17 star systems without a single defeat. They had never encountered a species that could resist them effectively. Until now. Admiral, his tactical officer reported with fear in his voice. The human ships are targeting us specifically. They're cutting us off from the fleet. Zixthul realized that the entire battle had been leading to this moment. The humans didn't want to destroy his fleet. They could have done that already. They wanted something else. As his ship's engines failed and weapons went offline, Admiral Zixthul prepared to face an enemy that had done the impossible. An enemy that, despite being outnumbered 100 to 1, had managed to defeat the mighty Hegemony Grand Fleet. The Hegemony flagship drifted silently in space, its engines disabled and weapons offline. Inside, Admiral Zixthul and his bridge crew worked frantically to restore power to critical systems. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow across the command deck. Damage report, Zixthul demanded, his voice tight with anger and fear. Engines completely disabled, Admiral. Weapons systems non-functional. Communications limited to short range only, his first officer reported. Life support and gravity systems remain operational. And the fleet? Scattered. Without guidance from our command systems, captains are making individual decisions. Some have formed defensive groups. Others are retreating to the outer system. Zixthul slammed his fist against his command chair. The proud Hegemony Grand Fleet, which had conquered 17 star systems without defeat, was now in disarray. All because they had underestimated one primitive species on one insignificant planet. Can we at least see what's happening? He asked. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the space around them. What Zixthul saw made his blood run cold. 5 human ships had positioned themselves around the flagship in a perfect pentagonal formation. They weren't firing. They were just waiting. Meanwhile, aboard the EDF command ship Defiance, Commander Lisa Howard reviewed final preparations for Operation Lighthouse. Her plan was now in motion. Isolate the alien flagship, disable it without destroying it, and then make direct contact with their leader. Boarding team status, she asked, turning to Security Chief Greg Nelson. Ready, Commander? 12 members equipped with personal quantum field generators and standard diplomatic gear. Lisa nodded. Remember, This isn't a capture mission. We're not there to take prisoners or gather intelligence. We're there to communicate. She stood and straightened her uniform. I'll lead the team myself. Her officers exchanged concerned glances. Fleet protocol typically kept commanding officers away from high-risk operations. Commander, her second-in-command, Frank Rivera objected. Regulations state that— I know what regulations state, Lisa interrupted firmly. But this is first contact in its truest form. The future relationship between our species will be shaped by this meeting. It needs to be done right. She turned to Dr. Kate Williams. Doctor, you understand the technology better than anyone. I need you on this team. Kate nodded, though fear flickered across her face. She was a scientist, not a soldier. But she understood the importance of this moment. Quantum field generators have been adapted for the boarding suits, Kate explained. They'll allow us to phase through the outer hull of their ship without breaching it, minimizing risk to both sides. Lisa addressed her bridge crew one last time before departing. Keep the fleet in defensive posture. If anything goes wrong, implement Contingency Protocol Omega and retreat to Earth. The President has been briefed and understands the risks we're taking. As the boarding team made final preparations, Communications Officer Paul Martinez suddenly called out, Commander, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's President Collins. The main screen switched to show President Diane Collins. In the Oval Office, her expression serious but calm. Commander Howard, the United Nations Security Council has unanimously approved your Operation Lighthouse. But I wanted to speak with you directly before you proceed. The President leaned forward. We're making history today, not just for Earth, but potentially for the galaxy. Remember that your mission is peace through strength, not vengeance. Understood, Madam President, Lisa replied. We'll make Earth proud. The President nodded. Godspeed, Commander. We're all counting on you. As the screen returned to its tactical display, Lisa took a deep breath. The weight of humanity's future rested on her shoulders. But this was what the Earth Defense Force had trained for since the first hints of alien observation were detected 15 years ago. Aboard the Hegemony flagship, alarm sirens suddenly blared. Intruder alert! Multiple breaches detected on decks 7 through 10. A security officer shouted. Impossible, Zixthul responded. Our shields may be down, but hull integrity is intact. How could they? Before he could finish, the bridge doors slid open. 12 figures in sleek blue-gray suits materialized, seemingly walking through solid matter. They carried no visible weapons but formed a precise formation around a central figure, who stepped forward and removed her helmet. Admiral Zixthul, Lisa Howard said calmly. I am Commander Lisa Howard of the Earth Defense Force. We need to talk. The bridge crew reached for weapons, but Zixthul raised a hand to stop them. These humans had disabled his entire fleet. If they wanted him dead, he would be dead already. You speak our language, he noted with surprise. Just as you speak ours, Lisa replied. We've been studying each other for some time, it seems, though perhaps we were more thorough in our research. Another human removed their helmet, a female, with short gray hair and intelligent eyes. I'm Dr. Kate Williams, she said, her voice steady despite the tension. I developed the quantum field manipulation technology that allowed us to board your vessel without damaging it. The same technology that your fleet has been unable to counter in battle. Zixthul's eyes narrowed. Why come here? Why not simply destroy us? You clearly have the capability. Lisa stepped closer. Because that's the difference between us, Admiral. You came to our system with 5,000 ships to conquer a planet you believed couldn't defend itself. We could destroy your fleet, but that's not our goal. What is your goal, then? Zixthul asked suspiciously. Understanding. Peace, if possible. A recognition of boundaries, at minimum. Lisa gestured to the view screen showing Earth in the distance. That planet contains 8 billion people living in over 200 nations. We have thousands of languages, cultures, and beliefs. We've fought countless wars amongst ourselves, but we are united in our determination to exist freely. While this conversation unfolded on the bridge across the solar system, the scattered remains of the Hegemony fleet attempted to regroup. Several captains had formed a battle group and were preparing a counterattack, believing their admiral held hostage. Back on Earth, military and civilian leaders monitored the situation closely. Defense systems remained at maximum readiness. The HFY orbital defense grid, a network of platforms disguised as communication satellites, stood ready to deploy if needed. In underground bunkers, backup plans were reviewed. Earth had prepared for this moment for 15 years, developing layers of defense and contingency plans. The quantum field technology was their greatest achievement, but not their only one. President Collins addressed the world again, urging calm and unity. Today we face the stars not as separate nations but as one planet. Whatever happens next, we face it together. On the Hegemony flagship, Admiral Zix Thule considered his options. His mighty fleet was in disarray. His ship was disabled. Somehow these humans, these primitives he had come to conquer, had achieved the impossible. Perhaps, he said finally, we should discuss terms. Lisa Howard nodded, her expression neutral but her eyes showing quiet determination. This was the moment everything had been building toward. Not a victory through destruction, but a chance for two species to find a path forward that didn't begin with conquest. Let's start, she said, with mutual recognition and respect. Everything else can follow from there. Admiral Zix Thule and Commander Lisa Howard sat across from each other in the flagship's conference room. The space was designed for hegemony officers, with seats too large for humans, but Lisa maintained her composure. Dr. Kate Williams stood behind her, while Greg Nelson and two other security officers maintained positions near the door. On the Admiral's side, 3 senior hegemony officers watched the humans with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Your terms, Zix Thule said, breaking the tense silence. What does Earth demand? Lisa placed a small device on the table which projected a holographic document between them. These are not demands, Admiral. These are proposed agreements between our peoples. Zix Thule leaned forward to examine the document. It was written in both English and the hegemony's main language, demonstrating just how thoroughly the humans had studied them. First, immediate cessation of hostilities, Lisa explained. Your remaining fleet withdraws beyond Neptune's orbit while we continue these discussions. Second, recognition of Earth and the entire Sol system as sovereign territory, off limits to hegemony expansion or resource extraction. Third, exchange of diplomatic representatives to establish formal relations between Earth and the hegemony. Zix Thule's eyes narrowed. That's all? No demand for our technology? No reparations for the ships you destroyed? Lisa shook her head. We don't need your technology, Admiral. And as for reparations, you fired the first shot. We defended ourselves. We consider the matter settled. One of the hegemony officers leaned toward Zix Thule and spoke quietly in their native language, not realizing Lisa could understand them. They're being remarkably restrained. This could be a trap. It's not a trap, Lisa replied in perfect hegemony, speech surprising them. It's an opportunity for both our species. Meanwhile, beyond Neptune's orbit, the scattered hegemony fleet received new orders. A group of captains had organized a counterattack, believing their admiral was being held hostage. 12 heavy cruisers and 35 destroyers formed up and began accelerating toward Earth. Back on the Defiance, Communications Officer Paul Martinez detected the movement. Commander Frank, we have multiple hegemony vessels breaking formation and accelerating toward Earth. Appears to be an attack group. Frank Rivera, temporarily in command during Lisa's absence, studied the tactical display. They never learn, do they? Prepare defensive measures. Activate the orbital grid but hold fire until they cross Mars orbit. Alert the boarding team. On due Earth, preparations for possible escalation continued. The orbital defense grid, disguised as ordinary satellites, powered up quietly. President Collins and her advisors monitored the situation from the Situation Room deep beneath the White House. If Commander Howard's diplomatic approach fails, the Defense Secretary said, we're prepared to deploy Phase 2 defenses. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, the President replied. The goal has always been peaceful coexistence, not perpetual war. Back on the Hegemony flagship, an officer burst into the conference room. Admiral, a battle group has formed from our fleet. They're moving to attack Earth. Zix Thule rose to his feet, his face darkening with anger. Who authorized this? I gave no such order. Captain Vrex is leading them. They believe you're being coerced. Lisa stood as well, her expression hardening. This is exactly the kind of misunderstanding that leads to unnecessary bloodshed, Admiral. I suggest you correct it immediately. Zix Thule turned to her. My communication systems are still disabled. We can fix that. Lisa nodded to Dr. Williams, who tapped commands into her wrist device. We've re-enabled your main communication array. You can address your fleet now. Zix Thule moved to the bridge, the humans following closely. The main view screen showed the battle group accelerating toward Earth. He opened a channel, his voice booming with authority. This is Admiral Zix Thule. All vessels, cease your advance immediately. I am not under duress. I am engaged in diplomatic negotiations with the humans. Any vessel that continues hostile action will be considered in direct violation of my orders and will face consequences upon return to Hegemony space. There was a pause. Then Captain Vrex's face appeared on screen. Admiral, these humans destroyed hundreds of our ships. We cannot allow such an insult to the Hegemony. The insult, Captain, Zix Thule replied coldly, was ours when we invaded their system without provocation. The humans have shown remarkable restraint. They could have destroyed our entire fleet, yet they chose to disable rather than destroy my ship, and to talk rather than annihilate. The battle group's advance slowed, then stopped. Captain Vrex looked shocked, unable to comprehend this shift in approach. All vessels will withdraw beyond Neptune's orbit, Zix Thule continued. This is a direct order. We will regroup and await further instructions. As the ships began to turn away, Lisa felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The immediate crisis was averted. She turned to the Admiral. Thank you. Zix Thule nodded stiffly. I may not have a fleet left to command after the Hegemony Council hears of this defeat. Not a defeat, Lisa corrected. A reassessment, an opportunity to find a better way forward. Across the solar system, the remaining Hegemony ships began moving away from Earth. Humans watched from orbit, from the moon colonies, from Mars outposts, and from Earth itself as the greatest threat humanity had ever faced retreated without. The massive casualties many had feared. On Earth, President Collins received word of the withdrawal. They're really leaving? Yes, Madam President, her aide confirmed. Commander Howard's diplomatic approach appears to be working. In orbit, the Earth Defense Force maintained vigilance, but the immediate danger had passed. The quantum field technology that had equalized the fight against overwhelming numbers had done its job. Now it was time for words, not weapons. Back on the Hegemony flagship, negotiations continued. Both sides began to realize how much they could learn from each other. The Hegemony's expertise in interstellar travel, Earth's innovations in quantum physics, medical advances, cultural exchange. There is another matter, Zix Thule said as they returned to the conference room. The Hegemony Council will demand to know how you defeated us so thoroughly. What should I tell them? Lisa exchanged glances with Dr. Williams before answering. Tell them the truth, Admiral. Tell them that numbers alone don't determine the outcome of a conflict. Innovation, determination, and the will to defend one's home can overcome even the greatest odds. Also, Dr. Williams added with a small smile, tell them that the best scientific advances come when you're not observed. While your intelligence listened to our public communications and watched our visible technology develop, we were working in the shadows, preparing for this day. Zix Thule nodded slowly. I will include in my report a phrase that I believe captures the essence of this encounter. He looked directly at Lisa. We outnumbered them 100 to 1, it didn't count. As the negotiations wrapped up for the day, Lisa prepared to return to the Defiance. The first steps toward peace had been taken. Earth had stood its ground. Humanity had faced the stars united and would continue to do so. Commander, Zix Thule said as she prepared to leave, I am curious. If we had not invaded, how long would you have kept your quantum technology secret? Lisa paused at the doorway. We would have revealed it when we were ready to join the galactic community on our own terms, not as conquest but as equals. 6 months passed since the day the hegemony fleet retreated from Earth. The solar system had changed in ways few could have imagined before first contact. Earth's nations remained united, understanding that the galaxy was larger and more dangerous than they had realized. The Earth Defense Force expanded, with new ships built using improved versions of the quantum field technology. Admiral Zix Thule stood by the large viewport in his quarters aboard the diplomatic vessel Concord. The blue-green planet Earth filled his view. He had never expected to return here as an ambassador rather than a conqueror. The Hegemony Council had been furious at his failure, but his detailed reports of human technology had convinced them that a different approach was needed with this species. A soft chime indicated someone at his door. "Enter," he called. "Commander." Lisa Howard stepped inside, now wearing the formal uniform of an EDF admiral. Her promotion had come shortly after the successful first contact negotiations. "Admiral Zix Thule," she greeted him with a small bow, a gesture she had learned was respectful in hegemony culture. "Are you ready? The delegation is assembling." "Almost, Admiral Howard." He turned from the viewport. "I was just reflecting on how much has changed. 6 months ago I came to this system expecting an easy conquest. Now I return as a diplomat." Lisa smiled. "That's progress, for both our species." Together they walked through the corridors of the Concord, a new vessel built specifically for diplomatic missions between Earth and the hegemony. Its design incorporated elements from both cultures, a physical symbol of the growing cooperation. The main conference room was filled with representatives from Earth and the hegemony. Dr. Kate Williams was there, now heading the new interspecies technological exchange program. President Diane Collins had traveled from Earth for this historic occasion. Several Hegemony Council members had made the journey as well, still wary but increasingly interested in peaceful relations with humans. President Collins opened the session. 6 months ago, our world stood on the brink of war. Today, we gather to formalize the peace between us and to look toward a future of cooperation. The formal treaty was surprisingly simple. Earth and the entire Sol system were recognized as sovereign territory. The hegemony agreed to cease all plans for resource extraction in the system. Both sides would establish permanent diplomatic missions. A framework for scientific and cultural exchange was established. What remained unspoken but understood by all was that humanity had earned this respect through strength, the quantum field technology that had allowed 47 ships to defeat. Thousands remained a closely guarded secret, shared only with trusted hegemony scientists under strict controls. After the formal signing, Admiral Zix Thule approached President Collins. "Your species continues to surprise me," he admitted. "Most races we encounter either surrender immediately or fight until they are destroyed. You found a third path." "Humans are adaptable," the president replied. "It's our greatest strength. When we realized we were being watched, we adapted. When we understood we would be targeted, we prepared. And when you arrived, we demonstrated our strength precisely enough to open the door to peace." Across the room, Dr. Kate Williams was deep in conversation with a hegemony scientist. They were discussing potential applications of quantum field theory to solve the hegemony's growing resource crisis, the very problem that had driven their expansionist policies in the first place. "Your approach to quantum mechanics is entirely different from ours," the alien scientist was saying. "We focused on using quantum fields for energy production. It never occurred to us to manipulate space-time itself." Kate smiled. "Different perspectives often lead to different solutions. Perhaps together we can find answers neither of us could discover alone." Meanwhile, Admiral Howard spoke with a group of hegemony military officers. They had requested details about Earth's defensive capabilities, a request she politely but firmly declined. "What I can tell you," she said instead, "is that we developed our technology specifically because we knew we were outmatched in terms of numbers. Innovation thrives under pressure." One officer, bolder than the rest, asked directly, How many other secrets is Earth hiding? Lisa simply smiled. I suppose that's the point of secrets. But I can promise you this. We prefer friendship to conquest, as long as that friendship is based on mutual respect. As the diplomatic reception continued, on Earth, preparations were underway for the next phase of human expansion. The first deep space exploration vessel equipped with quantum field drives was nearing completion in orbit. Named the Horizon, it would travel farther and faster than any human ship before, reaching nearby star systems in weeks, rather than the years or decades required by conventional engines. In schools across the planet, children learned about the historic first contact and the battle that had been won not through destruction, but through demonstration of capability and resolve. They studied both human and hegemony languages, preparing for a future where humanity would take its place among the stars. At the end of the diplomatic gathering, Admiral Zix Thule requested a private meeting with Lisa Howard. They met in a small observation room overlooking Earth. I have been recalled to hegemony space, he told her. The Council has new assignments for me. I hope it's not another conquest, Lisa said with concern. No, quite the opposite. I am to oversee a review of all hegemony expansion protocols. My experiences here have changed perspectives at the highest levels. Lisa nodded, understanding the significance. Change is never easy, especially for an empire built on centuries of conquest. The hegemony has existed for over 2,000 years, Zix Thule said. We have encountered hundreds of species, yet none has affected us as profoundly as yours. He paused, considering his next words carefully. Before I leave, I must ask, if we had arrived peacefully from the beginning, would you have shared your technology with us? Lisa thought for a moment. Eventually, perhaps. Trust builds slowly but can be destroyed in an instant. The path we took was not ideal, but it has led us to a place of honest understanding. You know our strength. We know your intentions. From here, real trust can grow. Zix Thule extended a four-fingered hand in the human gesture of farewell. Until we meet again, Admiral Howard. Lisa took his hand. Safe travels, Admiral Zix Thule. As his ship departed Earth orbit the next day, Zix Thule recorded his final observations in his personal log. The humans continued to defy conventional understanding. They could have destroyed us, but chose restraint. They could have demanded technology or resources, but asked only for recognition and respect. They prepared for war, hoping for peace. He paused, looking at the shrinking blue planet on his view screen. The phrase I used in my initial report has spread throughout hegemony space. We outnumbered them 100 to 1. It didn't count. But the lesson is deeper than military tactics. It is about seeing beyond assumptions and recognizing that true strength comes in many forms. The humans understood this before we arrived. Perhaps that is why they prevailed. On Earth, Lisa Howard watched the hegemony ship depart. The first chapter in humanity's relationship with the wider galaxy was closing. The next was just beginning. Whatever came next, Earth would face it united, innovative, and prepared. Qualities that had saved them once and would guide them forward into the stars.